Hey builders, Brick Ratty up here. With it being towards the end of the fall and close to Halloween, I'm in somewhat of a spooky mood. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to rank my top 10 Halloween monster figures, with a somewhat of an honorable mention with my favorite Halloween Lego piece of all time, this pumpkin head that I put on my figure here. Let's get on into the list. At number 10, I have the Series 4 Frankenstein's monster figure here. This is one of the first modern interpretations of this character, with a version existing in the Studios line several years ago, and is the first time that they introduced this flat head there that is perfect for this character. One of the downsides of this figure is no leg printing or back printing on the torso, no alternative face, and also no other accessories. But I think this is an iconic monster figure and definitely deserves to be on this list. I definitely think it could be better, but there's nothing wrong with a little bit of simplicity in a figure. Let's move on to number 9. We have the collectible minifigure series Medusa. It's another one of those figures that doesn't have any back printing, but it does have a dual-sided face with a non-powered up version on one side, and of course its face when it's turning one of its victims into stone. It also features this custom hairpiece, which I believe is only included in this figure, and this is a really great reuse of the Ninjago snake piece. As a fan of Greek mythology, I think it's really great that they did end up making this character. I know it's not necessarily 100% tied into Halloween, but I do think this is a great monster figure and deserves to be at number 9. Moving on to number 8, we have the Gargoyle figure, which is from the Halloween wave of collectible minifigures. It's fitting to be right after Medusa to have a stone figure like this, which features really great printing on almost every side of its torso, head, and its custom headpiece, which features horns and ears. No dual-sided face, but if you use this as a just stone statue gargoyle, this is perfect. Has some cracks going through it. One of the downsides to this is having short legs, so you can't pose it as well, and doesn't have any other accessories that had come with it. But I really love the look of this figure, and it has a really great theme to it, and I think it deserves its spot on the list. Moving on to number 7, we have the Werewolf from the Studios line. I have a strong connection to this figure, being one of my childhood figures, and I used to love the play features with this set that it came in, where it had a transformation, where it would change from this normal torso into the ripped up werewolf version. Now, I don't have the correct head under it right now. You could also put a minifigure's head underneath the mask to go into the transformation even more, just because these figures were intended to be used for stop motion. Like a lot of older figures though, it doesn't have back printing, which looks a little bit odd based on the fact it's supposed to be a plaid stripe type of shirt. There are a lot of other great werewolf figures, like this other collectible minifigure one, which features this hairpiece that was made for it with ears, which also has leg printing. Another really great example of a werewolf is this other one here from the collectible minifigure series, which very similar to this one is a transformation of the lumberjack, which was in an earlier collectible minifigure series. This one has really great printing and has a tail even, which adds to it. But based on the fact that it can only ever be the werewolf and doesn't have an actual play function for transformation, I do think this one is the better version. At the number 6 spot, I have the Business Zombie figure here. This is a reprint of the Series 1 Zombie, which originally was on a dark gray body, this time with a brown one, which I think is a better look anyway, just because the gray on gray is a bit boring. The brown adds a little bit more life to this undead figure. No printing on the back. But I think conceptually this figure is really great because it opened up the possibility for all the other zombie figures that came out after it. On its own, it could use some work, but I think gathering a bunch of different zombie characters is really great and has a lot of play possibilities with that. Halfway done with this list, we have number 5, which is the Mummy from the Studios line. This is another one of those characters that I have a really strong childhood memory of, and ended up coming in one of the smaller sets of that wave. It features leg printing, which was very rare for the time, as well as having an alternative face where it is sleeping inside of its tomb. I think it represents my idea of what a mummy would look like very well, and has really great printing and details. So I think it deserves to be the definitive mummy for this list. Let's move on now to number 4. We have the witch from the Halloween CMF series. I love the purple color for this, the cloth piece for the bottom of the dress. The printing on the legs really great and can be used for other builds or characters. And the hat hair combo adds a lot to the figure as well. There have been a lot of other different witches in the past, like this one from the second wave of collectible minifigures, but it has that slope piece for its legs instead of having bendable legs, and it just ends up snapping off pretty easily if you do play with it. I think this figure is also really great because it comes with a cat, it's familiar, and with that additional accessory, I just think it is the best witch. The head is also really great with the lime green that matches the Wicked Witch of the West, but it does not have a real face print. This is a great figure and definitely deserves to be at number 4. At bronze, at number 3, we have the Fly figure from the Halloween collectible minifigure series. This is one of those stranger figures with the crab claw thrown on from, I believe, the Pirates of the Caribbean series, and also having these wings that were made from an earlier series, like you can see here on this Bumblebee girl from series 10. Features a really great dual molded head with the eyes being in that transparent red, and as you can see as I'm moving it around, the light is kind of shining through it. Unfortunately though, the head is a rubber material, which gives it kind of a dusty look if you have it sitting out for too long like I have. But again, it just has really great printing with all the hairs, and I believe just for this unique character, it deserves to be at number 3. At silver, number 2, we have the vampire from the Studio series. There are a lot of things to love about this figure compared to other vampires, like having a bloody cloth in its pocket. It also has a 2-sided cape where it's red on the inside, black on the outside. This one's been played with a lot just because, again, it is one of my childhood figures. So the cape isn't in the best condition, but having 2 colored capes like this is a really great feature. On top of that, it even has an alternative face where, again, it has some blood dripping out. And I really don't think LEGO would ever go out of their way to make a vampire like this again, because it would be too, air quotes, violent. And it's just one of the reasons why I love this figure. One of my favorite parts of this figure also from the set is it had its coffin, which was molded to look just like it. And also this hair that they came up with for this figure and eventually used for Wolverine is really great. And I'm glad that they had it in their inventory already so Wolverine could look the best that he could when he first came out. Now let's look at some honorable mentions. One of my favorites is Bigfoot. I didn't think it was scary enough to be considered a Halloween monster, but I think this figure is really great, and that having a camera accessory that isn't on the figure at the moment was really funny just for the background of Bigfoot. Another honorable mention is the Scarecrow minifigure, also from a CMF wave. Again, not necessarily a Halloween figure, but is a great fall figure, has a lot of great printing and accessories, and I definitely think if you don't have this in your collection, you should get it. Another monster that is an honorable mention is the Minotaur. I love this figure, it has a really great molded head, the printed eyes, and I love that they incorporated the cow horns. Very cool, but again, not a Halloween monster. And one of my favorite Halloween figures that isn't a monster is the skeleton costume. It's really great to have the details of a Lego skeleton printed on the figure like this, and it could be useful in a lot of different ways. The printing is top notch, and the accessory is really great with the pumpkin candied tub there. Really great figure, but not a Halloween monster. And let's get to the last monster. At number 1, the gold tier figure is the classic Lego Ghost. This is one of the first Lego monsters that got a figure, and it is an instant classic just because of that. Having the glow-in-the-dark head mold is perfect, and just having the smile is just classic Lego to me because I always used to see this in the history books and everything, and it was always one of those figures I always wanted, and having it now, it is just the perfect monster Halloween figure. And this figure really could be a toss-up. They made the new mold for the ghost, for the Monster Fighters line. This one has the chain on it. This one has more detail on it with the top there pointing out, and it has a sad expression actually. I'm sure this was intentional, but with the haunted house they introduced another ghost figure, this time with a head instead of a mold, and one side has the frown like the newer ghost, and the other side has a smile, which is almost an exact replica of this one. So it's very cool to see this figure living on in the more present day, but I wish they would be more like this and keep this mold and bring it back, just because it is such a classic. Overall, I'm very surprised by the amount of Halloween figures that LEGO has put out at the various levels of horror and gore, but I do think an overall theme of Halloween has a lot to work with, and LEGO has done a really great job at putting out some really great figures, as you can see here. Let me know in the comments if you have any disagreements with my choices, or if any of these figures were one of your favorites. If you like what you saw today, please subscribe. I'm sure I'll get around to doing a video like this again in the future. I've been Brick Radiop, and I'll see you in the next video.